Man, oh man, the margins between winning and losing in this series have been very narrow for the Pacers twice, and they've ended up on the wrong end both times. Pacers dropped game 3, 114, 111, heartbreak at the end. Another big Celtics run that changes the game. Guys step up with Haliburton out, but it wasn't enough. What went wrong? What can go better? Is this over after 3-0? Derek Kramer, iPacers Blogs, joining us to break it all down today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, y'all. Hope you enjoy your Indy 500 day. If you go, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, talking about another narrow, painful at the horn Pacers loss in this Eastern Conference Finals. Are now down 0-3 in the series. They lose game 3, 114, 111. And they were up 8 with 2.5 minutes to go. They were up 18 in the middle of the third quarter and could not get across the finish line. Tyrese Haliburton was out. That changed to what they could get, what shots they could get, how they could play. Yet their stars that were available stepped up. They gave themselves a chance and couldn't quite get it done. What went wrong at the end? Who did and didn't step up? What can they do better? Where is the series going next at 0-3? Derek Kramer from my Pacers blog. Both of us were in the building for game 3. We're going to break it all down today on the Locked On Pacers podcast. Let's just get right to it. Another epic playoff game 3 in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. This time, the epic game did not go the Pacers' way. They were up 8 in the final 2.5 minutes. They were up 18 in the middle of the third quarter. What felt like a good, resilient, bounce-back Pacers that we've seen all postseason kind of night ends with disaster as the game tips against them in the final minutes. To break it all down, the Haliburtonless Pacers fighting, making a lot of twos, not making hardly any threes, somehow pushing the Celtics to the brink is Derek Kramer, who was also there in the building. These game 3s, Derek, they're taking minutes off my life. I thought for sure, given what we've seen from Nembhard, from Nesmith, from also Nembhard again, from Haliburton in previous series in game 3 in that building, that the Nesmith 3 at the buzzer was going to drop. Alas, it was not to be, and the stat I reminded you of before the game, a couple teams have come back from down 3-1 in the postseason. No one has come back from 0-3. Pacers not in a good spot.
Yeah, you have to think at some point an NBA team is going to come back from 0-3. It does not feel like this is the most likely of those to happen. It's just like if the Pacers were to win this series, they would have really essentially won 6 out of 7 games against a 64-win Celtic team. Like you were talking about, just razor thin margin between being up 2-1 instead of down 0-3. Like this game, it's almost like I'm just numb to the just insanity of losing another game like that. It's heartbreaking. And you could see it in especially Andrew Nembhard and the post-game presser. Like he just looked despondent and just a brutal loss.
Gutting for him. And I'll actually start with a couple of the guys who had good games just to set a scene. But the big story is going to be the last couple minutes, and we'll get there pretty early. So the game, before it even starts, Tyrese Haliburton is announced as out earlier in the day. So it's already like, oh boy, how's this going to go? And if you knew a day early, right, that Haliburton was not going to play, the cast of characters you would say need to be better in his absence would have been TJ McConnell, Andrew Nembhard, Pascal, Siakam, Myles, Turner, and there would have been a spirited debate among who needs to step up the most. I would have said Siakam. A lot of people would have said McConnell, whatever. They were all awesome. Like all 4 of those players were very good in this game and gave the Pacers a chance. Like there's not a lot to nitpick with any of them. I mean, Turner's turnovers, I guess. Nembhard had the biggest moment turnover, but he was sensational. Like Siakam was really good in this game as well. McConnell played a bunch of minutes and almost had a triple-double. Like they were all great. But when the game got to the point where they needed just one basket or stop to put it away, no one could do it. Not even the other guys on the team who all had 4 points or fewer. So this game, to me, and why Nembhard was so crushed, should have been a story of like incredible playoff triumph from a banged up team against the best team in the NBA, and instead now becomes a team that like no one gives up in the NBA, right? That's why gentlemen sweeps are a thing. Teams can win these game fours a lot, but like a team that knows the situation they're in and the history of being down 3-0 in a series, like even the Pacers against a 20-win team, winning 4 in a row is hard against anybody, right? So it's just the reality that hits you all of a sudden in that moment. And so Nembhard having the expressions he did, I mean, he was unbelievable. 32 points. That might be, including the regular season, his best scoring game this season. It was so good. And it was for naught because the Pacers just could not get over these razor-thin margins that have held them back in the series.
Yeah, like I want to say career high, like 31 was what he had against Golden State as a rookie, right?
Google exists, so keep talking while I answer the question.
Yeah, so either way, like it's his best career game.
Easily.
Like just unbelievable. Awesome performance. Like we were talking before the game, like who you start. And
that
like,
is his career high.
You were concerned about whether, like, if you don't start TJ, like where does all the offensive creation come from? Like that's a lot. Like he's been awesome in the playoffs as kind of the secondary guy when they put pressure on Haliburton, but this is like this is your show if you're the only point guard and starting, and he rose to the moment just unbelievably well. Like we talked about at halftime, just kind of like they faced Jalen Brunson in the last round. Brunson had a very similar performance with Luka out when he was still with the Mavs, and I think he had like a 40-point game. And it's just like this was his moment, and then just the game just ended in the worst possible way for him.
Right. So let's get to the end first, because that was the discussed thing, and it should be, right? A game is played to set up a moment to win it, and like they ran a beautiful play to tie it, but they shouldn't have had to tie it. So there is 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this game. In fact, I'll be more specific. I believe it's 2:24, which is me stalling to get to that point, scrolling through the play-by-play. To be exact, there was 2 minutes and 38 seconds when TJ McConnell hit a driving finger roll layup. Now, to set the scene of what's really happened here, with 4:27 to go, Nembhard scored, and then Jaylen Brown dunked on the next Celtics possession. It was a 4-point game at that point. And the Pacers had been awful from 3 all game. They were 3 for 19 from 3 at this point, and it felt like the game was slipping from their grasp. They went from up 18 to up 4. And then McConnell and Nembhard on consecutive possessions hit huge threes. Nembhard gets him to 30. McConnell gets him to 21. It's assisted by Nembhard, and they're up 8 at the time. Drew Holiday scores. Then TJ McConnell hits a huge finger roll. 2.5 minutes to go. It's 109-108. Your probability of winning the game at that point is pretty dang high, right? So here's what happened down the stretch. Jaylen Brown, 11-foot turnaround fadeaway. Tough shot. He made it. Pacers stall on the inbound, then run down their entire 24 seconds. They should be deflating the ball at that point, but they don't get a good shot. Turner turns around, step back 18-footer, missed it. Celtics on their trip down the floor. Jason Tatum right away. Bucket, 3-point game that quickly. And then the Pacers score. Andrew Nembhard gets 2 from the foul line. Now they're up 5 in the final 90 seconds. Where have we seen this before? Game 1 of this exact series is the last time that this similar situation happened. Al Horford hits a 3. He was ridiculous. Siakam gets a good-ish driving layup, but not good enough. Can't make it. Drew Holiday scores. Now it's tied. He's fouled. He hits a free throw. So the Pacers have the ball with a chance. Down 1. They don't get a great look. Andrew Nembhard shoots quick in the clock. Doesn't score. So now what has happened is since that 2.5-minute mark, it's been 2 minutes. The Celtics have scored on every possession, including 3 3-point plays. So they have scored 11 points in 2 minutes. The Pacers have scored 2. It was just such a dramatic downfall. And then the Pacers get a stop. They force Tatum to miss. They have a chance, the most controversial moment of the game, at least on the internet. They come down in transition. Andrew Nembhard is pushing. The rest of his team has not yet reached half court. He gets Drew Holiday to kind of stand up, so he attacks him. Drew Holiday stands him up. Great defense. For me, a lot of people said they think it was a foul. He gets a steal. He gets fouled. It puts the game away at the free throw line before the Nesmith miracle shot did not drop. And that was the moment that got everybody in a I don't know, mad. Is normally in those moments, Rick Carlisle has not called timeout all season. right? And there are a couple reasons this one is different than normal. So actually, Derek, before we talk about that exact play, what stood out to you about the 2 minutes prior to that, as the Celtics scored on every possession, the Pacers did not, outside of 2 free throws?
Well, first, I just want to say, I said I was numb. Like listening to you go through it all. No, I'm in pain. So
It was tough to see. I mean, you were there. You see the emotions on these guys' face. Like, it just hurts to see people like that. Anyway,
yeah. I think the Tatum pass to Horford,
great pass,
insane, just an insane pass. I think the one thing that we kind of skipped over, like Nembhard had the shot, the pull-up shot before they got the stop, before the turnover.
Yes.
It's like that's been his bread and butter all season, all postseason especially. Like he's nailed that little mid-range kind of step back or whatever you want to call it, and he just didn't make that one. And like the night of his life. And I think that probably even more than the turnover, I think probably will haunt him, just missing that shot because it was open.
Yeah, like the Tatum 3 and the Horford 3 were just good shots. So was the Jaylen Brown turnaround. Like, they're star players. They do that, right? Whatever. The two things that would be haunting to me are, one, the Nembhard miss you just talked about, and he made that shot a lot in this very game. And the other one is the Jrue Holiday and 1. This happened in game 1 also. They foul him hard, and then they like give up halfway through the continuation. They just burp up a layup. Tatum had 1 in game 1. So Siakam, if he just clubs him, they're tied at worst instead of down 1 in that situation, which changes the dynamics quite a bit. And like, it's hard to think that way. I get it. So here's the play that happened. And I have to talk about myself because everybody was preemptively annoyed at me, and I'm on your side this time, everybody. Nembhard comes down and sees a wall of Celtics before his turnover. So normally I am team no timeout. And there's a couple things that go into that. One is transition is high opportunities to score, especially for the Pacers. For example, what coaches say is it's a transition opportunity. We don't want them to set their defense. It doesn't matter who's in the game. That's not what that's about to me. My example to give you, and of course it's easy to give an example where the player scored, but the Jamal Murray game winner in the first round, no timeout from the Nuggets, Jamal Murray hit a shot over Anthony Davis, an amazing defender, but because there wasn't a set defense, they could just flow right into a pick and roll and get a good shot that they like, right? Like, that is what you're hoping happens when you don't call a timeout. So the Pacers are down 1. Nembhard crosses half court, and there's a wall of 4 Celtics defenders. That is when the timeout should come. So normally I am team no timeout, and I have defended that stance all season from the Pacers. But 1, normally Tyrese Haliburton's playing, and he's the guy with the ball. And 2, in this instance, they did not have a transition advantage. It was Nembhard against 4 guys, and his teammates. There's a screenshot that I DM'd Derek to remind myself to bring it up. Like, no one else on the Pacers has crossed half court yet when Nembhard starts his move with 6 seconds left on Jrue Holiday. This time, I think a timeout would have made sense because the Celtics were already set on defense. They were already back. So this time, I think a timeout would have been the right play. It's very easy to say that with hindsight, obviously, but they did not call one. And Rick said the same thing he always says, which, again, normally I think he is right to say this. It's transition opportunity. I trust our guys. Nembhard had a great game. That's all accurate. They didn't score. And it's a pivotal play in a big game, so it's going to be talked about a lot. And again, normally I think it's right, but not this time.
Like, personally, I think part of the reason the no timeout can be effective is when teams don't expect it. And if that's what you always do, I feel like the Celtics know that the Pacers aren't going to call timeout here. Even if we miss a shot and they get a stop, we got to get back on defense immediately. Do not let this be a transition opportunity. And they were all back. So I think my issue with it all year has been I think it works better as a changeup than this is the only thing that we're going to do. And it's easy to say that now. They just they get the one where Anthony Edwards has the just block of the year, literally, when he hits his head on the rim. Like, that's enough. They got a good shot. They just, an amazing player made an amazing play. So they had do you count that one as that proof that it can work? I don't know. But it hasn't worked this season. I don't know if they've had any success in a situation where they didn't call timeout. But you have the Haliburton game winner in game 3 of round 1 that came after a timeout. So I don't know. It's tough. I completely understand Colorado's point of view, not wanting to face a set defense, but then you look at the play they ran with only 1.7 seconds left, and like this coaching staff has amazing plays that they can run out of a timeout. Like that was incredibly creative football play, really, with basically a rub screen crossing route with McDermott and Neesmith kind of running crossing routes, and Neesmith got an open shot. Like that's all you can possibly ask for to get a decent look at the end there to tie.
I have to look through a lot of clutch situations. Like, were there any in the Bucks game 3 that came off of no time? I can't remember what the Neesmith
came from. Like the Nembhard one, that was a non-timeout.
Yeah, but that wasn't transition. I don't remember what set that.
And there was a lot of time left because Haliburton took the 3 really quick and they got the rebound. So.
This is not worth going through all of them. Either way, in this specific situation, I would have understood a timeout way more than I have before. I had another point. Oh yeah, like and again, this discussion always becomes so results based by fans. Like there's a reality where Nembhard doesn't get stripped, and then a trailing Myles Turner is wide open from 3 because like the whole defense is just looking great at Andrew Nembhard. Like there's a screenshot at 5.4 seconds where Neesmith and McConnell and Turner are all crossing half court and like only Jaylen Brown is on that side of the floor. Like that, but again, hindsight is the name of the game here. I just think in that it's so easy in a screenshot to make that decision, but I think this would have been a timeout situation. Either way, they lost. And the margins, you said it, between up 2-1 and where they are so insanely thin. Let's talk about, unless you have something else to add about the end of the game, let's talk about, to me, a big story of this game is the biggest thing they lost without Tyrese Haliburton.
So I just want to make a reference. I don't know. It just popped into my head, but I've been watching Dark Matter on Apple TV. I read the book a while ago, but it's about this guy who basically gets kidnapped from his life by another version of himself, who built this box that can take you into parallel worlds. So I really want to go in this box with Rick Carlisle just to see what the world looks like where they're up 2-1 in this series, and just see the paths not taken in terms of what happens if he calls a timeout in the first game when he could have advanced the ball. What happens in this game if he calls a timeout and sees what kind of play he gets. But yeah, just wanted to shout out that show. I've enjoyed it.
This is different. Okay. I just typed Pacers clutch on Twitter to see examples. So like halftime of game 1. No, this is game 2. Like the Pacers get a transition opportunity with 10 seconds to go. They have a bunch of timeouts, obviously, because it's not even halftime yet. And Pascal Siakam just attacks Jaylen Brown and drives right to the basket and dunks. Like, that's not the end of the game. Like the intensity is different, but like well, should they have called time? It's just so reaction in the moment based. So obviously I'm doing that now too, but I think timeout would have been the move in this one. Hey guys, short little break here so we can talk about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The winning formula for championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. Plus, with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Tyrese Haliburton didn't play. Obviously a huge deal. And here's the thing. You and I were talking about this in the press room before the press conferences start. The Pacers in this game took 22 threes. They made that many in a playoff game this year, right? In game 4 against the Bucks. I can't remember exactly what they ended at, but it was a lot. I think it was 22. They took 22 in this game. They made 5. For reference, Al Horford made 7 and Jason Tatum made 5. The Pacers made 5, right? Like that's not enough. And the whole game, they did a lot of stuff well to keep up. They were dominating in the paint, and Andrew Nembhard was hitting that fall away too. Siakam's been unbelievable in the mid-range all series. Pacers 68 points in the paint. That's insane. McConnell was getting to his spots. Turner was punishing Smalls. Like lots of stuff that has been talked about as key adjustments or like key things to happen in the series. They could not make or create nearly as many good threes. How many threes got blocked in this game from them? 3 or 4, right? Like that is what Tyrese Haliburton helps with. And the Celtics are a math battle. They get up a ton and make a ton. And they didn't even shoot. They haven't all series shot that well. 35% in this game, 16 for 46. But that is 11 more threes. Like that is so hard to overcome. And the Pacers did not miss a free throw in this game, and they dominated in the paint, and they took care of the ball way better than they have all series, and they didn't get crushed on the glass. And that's it. That is such an insurmountable difference, and it's really hard to overcome that with the personnel they had available.
Yeah, the Celtics defense in the second half, just the amount of threes in the third quarter that they just closed out and blocked was just insanity. Like you've seen the tweets probably from NBA University or whoever that tweeted out the stat of the like crazy amount of wide open shots that the offense creates. And that's Haliburton. Like that's even in the games where you feel like he's not being aggressive looking for his shot, like they're moving the ball because of him and finding all these crazy amount of open looks. And they just were not getting those in the second half. And they went from, 69 points in the first half to 42 total, 21 in both quarters in the second half. Like the Celtics ups the physicality. I can't make any comments about referees sitting where I was sitting, but
you can.
I can, but the Pacers were clearly frustrated. I'll just say that.
Yes, they were.
But like it is.
Siakam didn't mince words. Other guys did. Siakam went right at it, right? So
yeah, and like they block those. Like even if you have your issues, like they made some incredible plays defensively. Like the amount of Derek White is incredible. Like amount of plays where it feels like he's out of the play and he just hustles and gets to the right spot at exactly the right time and makes huge blocks. Like Myles was awesome in this game, taking advantage of those mismatches and just immediately shooting over in the first half even. And then like he hits 2 of those right away and Derek White's like, okay, he's going to shoot right away and just like swats a 7-footer's jumper where he has a high release point. Like it's just insanity. The stuff that he and Drew both can do on the defensive end.
Yeah, they're insanely good. Drew almost didn't play, right? Game time decision. Although we saw him walking around before he warmed up. I was pretty sure he was going to play when I saw him walking around. So just for some numbers to throw at you. In the regular season, the Pacers' 3-point attempt rate with Tyrese Haliburton on the floor was 41.6%. With him off the floor, it was 33.4%. It's about an 8% difference. For reference, the Pacers at their pace, which is basically 100, it's like 8 threes in a game, right? Like that's huge. In this game, they took 22. Getting to 30 would have been very important, even at their accuracy level, because he himself can make them. And again, that's the regular season. In the playoffs, I hope it's about the same. So my argument stands. Oh, it's even higher. In the playoffs, 41.5% three-point attempt rate with Haliburton on, almost exactly the same as the regular season. With him off, it's 30.1, 11% difference. Imagine 11 more three-point attempts for the Pacers in this game, and he either taking them as a good shot or creating them for someone else as a good shot. Like you've seen all playoffs, teams are doing a lot better to cut off the immediate pass he can make, whether that's the pick and roll and the pick and pop, because they know he's a great passer. But when he gets his 2 feet in the lane, and that's what he likes to play, and he calls it being aggressive, that creates a good shot for someone else a lot of the time. And so that wasn't there. And so obviously he's incredible. Like even last game when he had 10 and 8, they won his minutes because he draws so much attention and is so vital to their offensive identity. And so I'm not trying to say that Nembhard and McConnell weren't good. They were awesome running the show. Like they got great point guard play. It's just the math problem. There was a huge issue in this game, and Tyrese Haliburton is the math a lot of the time, and they didn't have him, and we'll see what he can do if he's available for game 4. It sounds like he really wanted to play in game 3, and I think the result of this game maybe influences how you think about that. I don't know. I probably would play him if he's available if I'm the Pacers, but I mean, that was huge. Losing that part of the math equation shrunk their margin for error. They had a lot of errors late in the third quarter and late in the fourth, and they lost. That's the game.
Yeah, the point guard play is just unbelievable how good all three of these guys are. Like I made a point guard shirt for Tyrese, and like I'm polytheistic now. Like they have 3 point guards. Like just
wow. Wow. Did you think of that a while ago?
Yeah, I thought about it earlier today. Okay. I never tweeted it out, so I got it in the pod.
I was going to say, there's no way you just thought of that.
Yeah.
Continue.
I'm not that quick on my feet. Not that quick on my feet.
Continue.
Yes, I don't even know what else we were talking about there. The 3-point, like they only hit 5. Nembhard hit 4 of those.
Yeah.
No other starter hit a 3. Like Myles was really good inside the arc today, but every one of his threes just felt a little rushed and way off compared to, like, obviously he's been shooting insane percentages from 3 in the entire playoff run. They just like couldn't buy a bucket from late. And like we said, like so many of them just got stuffed by awesome closeouts. TJ was the only other person who hit a 3. Like only the point guards were able to get one to go down.
Yeah, Siakam is great from the corners, not so great above the break, so his percentage doesn't surprise me. Like Turner's been hitting him in the postseason. He missed all his. Nesmith was before the series, but has not in this series. Ben Shepherd does not ever take a bad 3. He missed all his. He has not shot well this series either. So
0 for 9 now, I think.
In the whole series, yeah, that checks out. So guys that in some cases have been reliable, in some cases have been. Either way, like what would that be? 0 for 11? Like you expect one to go in if you're the Pacers, right? Even if they're not great shot quality, you expect one to go in. Myles Turner made that shot clock buzzer beater 3 against the Knicks. Like maybe they just used all their superpowers to win that series, but that's an insurmountable math problem. And I'm going to find a stat now. Here's something else that stands out about this game. This is not Haliburton related. I'm trying to transition away from that now. Tim Reynolds had it, but Dustin Dopirak really shared it. So the Pacers had 4 players score 22 or more points, and none of the rest of their guys had more than 4, which is crazy. That's the first time that's ever happened in Pacers history. So Siakam, Turner, Nembhard, McConnell, all fantastic. The rest of the team combined for 12 points. Like it was a very strange imbalance. And I didn't think any of those guys who had 4 or less were like so awful or damaging offensively. Like I guess Shepherd was 0 for 4, but they weren't shooting that much at all. Like in general, it wasn't so problematic for anybody, but that is kind of reflective of the game that we saw where they were really reliant on certain guys.
Yeah, and you look at the box score and Doug McDermott's got the highest plus minus for the team.
I got to take an L on that.
Huge L for me. Like I wrote about, like I just,
he was good.
He was good. He didn't take any threes. Like his bucket was an offensive rebound and tip in because of course it was. And he got a stop against Jason Tatum at the end of the first quarter when for some reason
assists.
He's guarding him on purpose at the end of that quarter. It worked. I still wish we could have experimented a little bit more with Jarris in the game 2, just to see if that could have been an option. I think that would have maybe been helpful when Nesmith got 5 fouls in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I can't fault playing Doug in this game. Like the minutes went incredibly well. Matching him with Hauser worked very well. He just kind of face guarded him and then didn't have the Doug issues on defense, though they didn't really hunt him either, which was a little surprising.
Well, when he look, we don't have to rehash what Doug McDermott is and why we were both like surprised he played in the game at all. But when he's in, O'Shea Brissett and Sam Hauser are glued to him. His reputation still matters. Like it you could see it in this game. I would understand Jarris playing, and we talked about that before the game. And his 4 minutes were not the deciding factor in this game. It's just a thing that happened. Now what happens, right? It's 3-0. Haliburton is banged up. Like they're almost certainly not going to win the series. Rick Carlisle is ready to fight, right? Like he's ready to battle in the series. He made that very clear. The players are. No one wants to get swept. There's a lot of pride at stake on Monday. And the Pacers, again, have proven they are very close to 2 wins in this series. They're not going to fold over and die. They're going to hope they get their star back and can fight in this series. Last year, this Boston Celtics team, which was a little different looking, but they were as close as a team can get to coming back from down 3-0. They were the home team in that series at 2-8 against the Heat. They got it to the 7th game. They might have won it if Tatum didn't get hurt. Like, it's hard to do. We've seen it be close to plausible. So what does this take? Like, what happens next in this series? Is it Haliburton comes back and is just unbelievable for 4 games? Is it you keep trying to fight with what you have and hope you can get over your late game flubs? Like, where does this series go now? And to me, a bigger factor too is like the mental hurdle of being down 3-0 is really, really big. Like, even though it's the conference finals, like that is now a factor the Pacers are going to be running into.
Yeah, and just I don't know, Carlisle's said so many times, like, we're gonna come in Monday and like hit them even harder, and you wonder like if they really up the physicality, like if it just ends up being just foul trouble everywhere. Like, it would not shock me if just like they be more physical, but they're not subtle about it, and they get in some foul trouble early and it might get away from them. I don't know, like it's just that Boston's an incredible challenge. They've been like outplayed them for 94 minutes out of 144 in this series, and they
The Pacers.
I think like
I think your ratio is too low. I wrote about this after game 2. They were better in game 1 for what? 42 out of 48 regulation minutes. Probably even more than that. There's
right.
2 runs.
Yep.
In game 2, a 20-0 run. And then I forget what happened in the third quarter, what the numbers were, but like they're better for the rest of that game. And then this game, outside of the late third and late fourth, they were better. Like, I think your ratio is too low. This is stupid to say because those stretches for the Celtics, is what I wrote, were so dominant that it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't look like they're playing the same sport. Like, they in a flash are up 20-0 because they're so good on both ends. I'm not saying the Pacers have been better for or even with them for 80% of the series to degrade the Celtics. Those 20% minutes are insane. But I think that's a very interesting reality of the series is for so much of it, the Pacers are right there, better or even. They cut out those yucky runs for so long in this game, but they not long enough. They were like 2 minutes away. Anyway, sorry. I wrote about that, so I wanted to interject.
No, yeah, you're good. And I think maybe that speaks to the inexperience of this group compared to how often these Celtics have been here. And they have guys like Drew Holiday who have won a championship. Just like maybe that's just as simple as that. That's the difference where like they can be being outplayed for 46 out of the 48 minutes and they still find a way to win. Like, I feel like game 1, it was almost like they got a little too amped in the last couple minutes. Like, you could just kind of feel it. Like, they were a little too excited about sealing that first game 1. And then they had those couple, like Haliburton dribbled it off his knee. Just seemed like he was a little rushed on the shot that he took before that.
Yeah.
It's just like, they were ready for the moment until it got to the final moment. Twice.
Okay. So I'm doing math now. So the 12-0 run in the start of game 1 was 3 minutes. And like, so here was my thesis of what I wrote. Like 12 points in 3 minutes is 4 points a minute. That's not that crazy in the NBA, right? The 13-0 run in the third quarter was 3 minutes and 5 seconds. That's basically the same thing, right? The 20-0 run was from like late in the first to like the middle of the second. Again, it wasn't like an avalanche of offense. Like, to me, when the Celtics are just really flexing on the Pacers and having these runs, their defense is impenetrable. Like, the Pacers just cannot score. And that happened late in the third quarter again in this third game. And so that's what they have to somehow hold off. And the thing that's been stunning to me is, like, when I was doing the series preview with John, is we both said these teams, with the way they play offense, there's going to be variance games, right? Where just like one team or the other shoots so good they just win by default. That hasn't happened at all, like in any of these, which has been bizarre, right? Game 1, the Pacers shot 37.1% from 3. Game 2, 37.9%. That's fine. That's not good or bad. The Celtics went 33 and then 40, like 40 maybe, I guess, but not really. They're a great shooting team. And then in this one, the variance was bad for the Pacers, but we talked about Haliburton being a factor there, and the Celtics were at 35. That hasn't happened. Their defense is just that good that it hasn't happened. And so that's why I look ahead to game 4, and I think the Celtics, with all these defensive weapons they have, unless the Pacers can finally have a variance game, and the Celtics could have their own. They could shoot 48 to 50% from 3, and it's just over Monday. That's why this series is such a hard challenge for the Pacers, regardless of Haliburton's status going forward. But the Pacers haven't had one of those yet. Neither team really has. The Pacers have had a negative one, I suppose you could say, for game 3. But that is something fascinating to me going forward. And a fascinating reality is, even when the Pacers play so good, the Celtics defense just hits this gear for 8 minutes a game where they just can't score, and that's how they lose.
Yeah, like they've been shut down in key stretches in each of these games, and it ended up being the difference. Like I think maybe the game 4, like I don't want to see the Celtics celebrating going to the NBA Finals at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So I think that's
who else doesn't? The Pacers.
Right. The biggest motivation for the Pacers is to not let that happen on their home floor, where they hadn't lost until tonight since March 18th. Like known enough that like Jason Tatum mentioned that during his presser today, like they knew how hard it is to play in this arena with how amazing the fans have been. Like McConnell saying like he feels invincible when he's playing at Gamebridge, which is just a great quote. He always has good quotes about the fans. Yeah, just like game 4, here we go. Is the season going to be done? You're going to let it end now or push it back to Boston?
We'll see. Well, I wonder how much, because the other fact, we didn't even talk about the other factor. We can talk about Haliburton coming back or not. If Kristaps Porzingis comes back and he looks good, that impenetrable defense gets better. So that'll be a new wrinkle for the Pacers to deal with. And he's fantastic on offense too, although his stats against the Pacers this year were not anything to write home about. So that's another factor of game 4 is the injury report. Of course, I love talking about injuries in the playoffs. It's been crazy. You and I joked about doing this, so I think we should just do it. The 5 stages. Pacers are down 3-0. We were joking about running through the stages of grief as it comes to this series because we both had like 1 point that fit in well to one of these boxes we want to get to. Mine would be if you are a person who is seeing the Pacers down 3-0, I guess I don't really know what stage this fits in. Probably bargaining, right? Pacers are in the conference freaking finals. The team they played in the first round was a 49-win team. The Pacers won 47. Like winning that series, that makes sense. 47-win team beating a 50-win team in the second round, that makes sense. The Celtics won 64 games. Like that's the difference between the Pacers playing a 30-win team. Like it's a huge gap. I don't know what stage that comes in, but if you are looking as a fan internally and going, "Oh, this hurts so bad," just know that it would have been a very impressive upset for the Pacers to win at full strength, given the quality difference between these teams. And the Pacers are better than 47-win team to me, but that's how good the Celtics are.
Yeah, and it's another reason why it's so painful that they could be up 2-1. Like they've had their chances. Like it's just, yeah, I don't know where I'm at in the stages of grief. Still, what's the first stage?
Denial is first. So denial would be saying what you just said. Oh, they could be up 2-1.
That's yeah. I'm in all of this. I'm still in denial. Apparently, they're not up 2-1. Down 0-3.
Anger is
the
team going through what they went through post game today.
Yeah, I think denial and anger. There's a lot of that in game 1.
Anger is nitpicking which individual, either coach or player, you think is responsible for them losing the games. Carlisle getting a lot of blame
for the referees if you're going that
way. Or the refs. Bargaining is what I went through. Well, it's okay. They're just playing a way better team. Yeah, depression.
It's me wishing for the dark matter box to be a real thing so I can kidnap myself out of the world where the Pacers won.
How is this a thing you're talking about? I don't even know what you're saying.
Nobody does. Nobody knows what I'm saying. He builds a box. I'm not going to explain it anymore. Watch Dark Matter if you want. This
is Derek's last appearance on this podcast. Everybody, just that's not true. Stage 4 is depression. I guess I don't.
I'm already there. I'm there too.
Can't relate to fans, but I also think after game 3,
you could see it. You could see Nemhard feeling it.
Yes,
just brutal.
And
just brutal.
Stage 5 is acceptance, which will be everybody going, well,
great season.
They made the conference finals in a great season, which is also true, which is also factual, right? Like like some eras of teams peak at this, right? Including the Paul George Pacers, right? Like
most Pacers teams.
Yes. Like that's a very impressive season result, even though it never feels that way, right? It's hard to think like that.
Yeah, and it's part of it. Like as a Pacers fan, like we've seen the Pacers get to the conference finals a lot and
9 times.
only get out of it once. And it shows how incredibly difficult it is. This is the first time where they've gotten there and it's not been it's been competitive, but they haven't been able to win any games.
Hold on. Is this the first time without Reggie or Paul ever? I think so, right?
Yeah. Like the Heat series that they went to 6 in, like it was 3-1 and they won one to send it to 6. So but they won game 3, I want to say, something like that. I don't remember. So maybe they won. No, they won one of the 2 at home. And
I've never gone through the history of their 9 conference final series.
Yeah, but all of them have gone at least 6 games, I want to say, except the one that they won against the Knicks. Maybe they won in 5. I don't remember. But either way, like this is the one where it they could have had 2 wins, but this is the only one where they've ever been down 0-3. They had the one against the Bulls where they were down 0-2, and then every team won all their home games in the entire series. But this is the only one that hasn't been back and forth, matching wins for wins, all of that stuff.
Yeah, they've never even been down 3-1 before. Oh, yes, they have. The 2014, they were down 3-1.
Yeah.
All the rest, they got at least one of the first 2. But they also had a lot better records those seasons than this one. So anyway, that exercise was mostly just because we thought about doing it before we did this. The real GM has this laid out really well. Yeah, they beat the Knicks in 6, and they lost the year before that to the Sixers in 6, and all the rest. Oh no, and 04 went 6 with the Pistons. All the rest are longer. So yeah, this could be. In fact, they have 2 chances to avoid it. Their shortest conference final series ever, and yet they made it to the conference finals. Ask the whatever. We can do this after the series is over. Whenever that may be. Tomorrow. Actually, do you have anything else on Game 3, Derek? Or an extra stage of grief you'd like to add or something? I don't know. I'm putting you through it.
An extra stage of grief.
The dark matter stage of grief.
Oh my God. The extra stage of grief is my insomnia during this entire playoff run. That's why I'm able to do this podcast at 2 a.m. because I'm going to be awake anyway. I'm not going to be able to fall asleep for another 2 hours probably.
Derek has set some records this postseason. So the latest anyone has ever said before this playoffs, I ask guests, say, when are you free? When can you do this? The latest anyone's ever said is 11, 10:30, and I do these really late anyway, so I don't care. So after last round, when we did it after Game 3, you said 12:30, right? And then this time the game started later, and we were there later because the Celtics media was later. You said 1:30. But I also am up super late anyway, so it doesn't matter. No one cares. No one cares what time of day we're recording. So anyway, Derek has set 2 records. Broke his own 10-day-old record tonight. Congratulations.
I'll be in the books.
Let's talk about dark matter. What other universes where we do it at the arena and it's not super late? How about that? That's the dark matter universe.
Good idea.
Tomorrow, I don't know. John Corrales is in town, but we were talking about the value of a crossover of a 3-0 series. Maybe you'll hear from me and John. Maybe you'll hear from just me ahead of Game 4 and the Pacers practice. So there'll be stuff to talk about, Haliburton injury updates. So you'll get a podcast of some kind about something. It's either going to be me and John or just me. So that's very helpful. Derek, thank you for the time. Where can people find you and your work covering the Pacers in their playoff run with, for my money, the best graphics of anyone covering the Pacers?
I appreciate you for that. You can find my work on ipacers.com. Recently made a couple new shirt designs in honor of the previous 2 Game 3s. So that's something you're interested in. You can look those up. It's been a fun ride. I've really enjoyed trying to dive in as much as possible, providing content for this playoff run. You can see how wrong I am with some of my takes if you look at some of these things from before, but good times.
If you have no takes that are wrong, you're not making enough takes. That's my Tony U stance. Yeah. iPacers.com, credentialed for the conference finals. Very cool. Yeah, back tomorrow. I have nothing else to add. Derek's on the Bird app at iPacers blog, and I'm there at Tony R. East. That's a good place to yell at us for saying stupid stuff or if you must, opine about dark matter and whatever the heck Derek is talking about. I think Wembanyama talked about dark matter in his Rookie of the Year presser. I'm not even joking. So
there we go.
if Wemby's talking about it, I got to talk about it, right?
That's the real universe I need to go to.
The one where I grow 1.5 foot and I'm as tall as him.
No, just the universe where they win the lottery.
One number away. Yeah. That's so whatever. I always laugh about that because like 4 or 5 teams were one number away, but just it's still funny to say. Back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm talking about. Certainly the conference finals and game 4, but with who and what about? I'll know more later. Take care, y'all. Thanks for listening. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. See you tomorrow.